And gentlemen, as we celebrate the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, I ask you to remember the new Iron Curtain, which has fallen across Europe, between Russian-occupied and free Ukraine. I'm First Lieutenant Yulia Mykytenko. I joined the Ukrainian Armed Forces when I graduated the university in 2016. And for now, I command a 25-strong drone reconnaissance unit, which goes by the name Hellish Hornets. We are based just a few kilometers from the line of contact in Donetsk. Because most casualties on both sides are now claimed by drone strikes, Russia has made drone pilots priority targets. Last year, I watched as Russian airborne troops threw a grenade into one of our dugouts. 6 Ukrainian soldiers climbed out with their hands up. The Russians made them kneel in a line and shot them point blank. It was one of the most terrible things I have seen in 9 years in the army. I witnessed this war crime live on my drone feed and could not do anything to stop it. And more recently, Russia has developed the technology to follow the electromagnetic signals emitted by Ukrainian drones back to the pilot, who they then kill with an explosives-armed loitering drone. The map of Ukraine, which I keep on my smartphone, is studded with black hearts. Each heart represents the place where a close friend and brother in arms is buried. For now, I don't have time for grief, but I will visit their graves soon when the war ends. They were young men who could have made Ukraine and world better. My husband was killed in a Russian artillery bombardment in 2018. He joined military because he wanted to protect innocent civilians. His dream was to build a big house and adopt and raise many children with me. I scattered his ashes in Mariupol, but I cannot for now go there because this territory is annexed now by Russia. In September 2022, I saw my company commander, Captain Dmitro, and a dozen of my brothers in arms blown up by the explosion of a Russian artillery shell in a village that we were trying to secure. Captain Dmitro was a fine officer with a promising military career ahead of him. He would have done a lot to improve Ukrainian army. This year, I added a black heart to my map at Ivano-Frankivsk, when my friend Denis was buried last spring. He died in Donetsk when a Russian used a person-few drone to drop a grenade carrying the nerve agent Novichok next to him. He was only 30 years old, and he believed in God, and he wanted to be a pastor and create a family. And I remembered him as a person who shared his love with each person he met. And also I wrote a poem devoted to him. The warrior is the first to fall. He does not carry yesterday. He does not chase tomorrow. The present is his only ground. He does death. He does it for love. The Czech writer Milan Kundera called the Central and East European countries who fell into the grip of the Soviet Union kidnapped West. This kidnapped West included Soviet republics like the Baltic states who were welcomed into NATO and the European Union. Ukraine too has European roots going back to the Middle Ages, yet we were consigned to a kind of limbo. Vladimir Putin thought he could control us through corrupt puppets. We revolted in the Revolution of Dignity. Russia invaded Ukraine to prevent it joining the West. Putin now floods the internet with chatbots and lies on social media. Putin assassinates political opponents on European soil, cut undersea communication cables, and invades European airspace with drones and warplanes. This hybrid war, which Russia is waging against Europe, is the new and dangerous version of the Cold War, which Germany endured for half a century. You may not hear gun or shell fire, but these things are happening now, and their consequences will change your lives for the worse. If Russia is allowed to triumph in Ukraine, there will be nothing to stop Putin installing puppet governments. It is only 105 kilometers from Donetsk to Warsaw. It's just a few days in a car. Until February 2022, the people of Bucha led quite normal lives, like ordinary Europeans. We are fighting so that you see this war only on your television screens. If Russia is allowed to win in Ukraine, this is the last war that European soldiers will not fight in. Living under occupation is not living, especially Russian occupation. Alexandra Matviichuk, our Ukrainian Nobel laureate, has documented the mass rape, torture, kidnapping, and murder committed by Russia in Ukraine. And I'm just wondering how long will millions of Ukrainians be subjected to this nightmare? And I think we must decide what kind of world we want and our children want to grow up in. This war is about freedom and values and justice. Russia invaded Ukraine because the Soviet Union was never punished for its crimes of Stalin, because Putin, Russia enjoyed impunity for its crimes in Chechnya, Georgia, Africa, and Syria. If there is no justice for Ukraine, Russia will continue to defy international law. I and my fellow soldiers know that we are unlikely to win back this 20% of our country, which has been saved by Russia, at least not for foreseeable future. Yet we take heart from the fact that Germany was reunited nearly half a century after it too amputated by Moscow. Someday Russia will be defeated and punished for its crimes. Ukraine, like Germany, will one day regain its territorial integrity through peaceful means, through the passage of time and political evolution. Europe can do much for that.
Thank you so much, Yulia, for sharing that. And I think, we've been hearing about this drone war, and we just imagine that it's just a bunch of robots shooting at each other, and you've reminded us of the human toll. I'm torn between a few different questions to ask you, but I'll start with this. Do you think that Western European countries need to, and NATO allies should see more of the graphic images that you've seen? Do you think that would give people a greater sense of urgency, or would that, just kind of traumatize and make the whole situation even more poisonous in your view?
What do you mean graphics? You mean
what you were talking about,
graphics?
of seeing your brothers in arms, shot by the Russians?
Well, it's the reality where we live in, and we faced with this reality every day. And I think that you can see it through your screens, and I think that you should see that, because few years ago, Ukrainians, veterans especially, they warned about Russian full-scale invasion, and a lot of people watching on us like we were like insane, or that we weren't telling the truth. But in the fact, just a few years after that, Russia started a full-scale invasion, and still I feel myself like a few years ago trying to convince Europe that Russia won't stop in Ukraine. So if this is for you a testimony which can be in the future, in quite foreseeable future, then please see that, because I don't like to live in a warm bathroom in a warm bath. I don't know how to say it. Sorry for that.
Last question. Given the atrocities that have been committed, and you mentioned, Berlin being a model. Berlin is also a model in terms of the European Union of warring factions being able to live together. Is that even within the realm of imagination for Russians and Ukrainians at some point in the future?
I think that's possible if Russia will recognize all that they have done in Ukraine, that they will take responsibility for all their actions, for our destroyed infrastructure. As you can see, for now I'm in the dark because due to the last massive shelling, there are no electricity in most of the regions of Ukraine, no pouring water. And I want Russians just to take responsibility for their actions. I don't hate them. I don't feel hate to them. I just want them to take responsibility and pay everything that they took from us.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Yulia, for being here and for your service.